This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 234, The State of Content Marketing, Top 5 Trends from the First Half of 2017. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is July 6th, 2017. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. And shout to my friends in the States. Hope you had a wonderful 4th of July holiday. I know the Mister and I thoroughly enjoyed our barbecue and relaxation. Hope you did as well, and I hope you are back at it, ready to work, because guess what? The year is halfway over. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe. I also invite you to download our complimentary audio and ebook, B2B Content Marketing, From the Blog to the Bottom Line. Download today to learn powerful strategies for driving engagement at each stage of the B2B sales process. To snag your free copy, go to contentmarketinggift.com. Now, I know it's only July, folks, but Content Marketing World will be here before you know it. And this year, yours truly will be there serving as a moderator. And I am so excited. I absolutely cannot wait. This year's event is scheduled for September 5th through 8th. If you're in the States, that would be the week after, just following Labor Day. And as always, it will be in Cleveland, Ohio. And I have it on authority that hotels are starting to fill up. So to learn more and to grab your spot, go to contentmarketingworld.com. And if you're planning on being there, please do toss me a tweet at Rach Parker. Maybe we can coordinate and grab some coffee while we're there. Okay, last week we talked about how to create irresistible content that keeps the people in your audience coming back for more. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or via the RSS feed. Believe it or not, we have hit the halfway point of 2017, and today we're looking at the top developments in the content marketing world over the last 6 months that will shape our strategies for the rest of the year and beyond. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Last month, Facebook did something very interesting. They invited hundreds of group admins to attend the first ever Facebook Communities Summit. So Facebook pulled together all these group admins to get their input and to talk about the group experience on Facebook. And they also used the opportunity to announce some new features that include real-time metrics around growth, engagement, and membership. For example, you can now see the times that members are most engaged with your group content. You can now automatically filter membership requests, because a lot of these admins had told Facebook that they spent a lot of their time reviewing requests to join and approving or disapproving those requests. So Facebook is now giving admins the ability to automatically filter. For example, if your group is geographically oriented and you only speak to people in a certain area, well, this allows you to filter out people who are trying to come in from other areas that don't make sense for them to be there. You can also apparently pre-schedule group posts, which you've not been able to do before. So if you are a group administrator and Facebook groups are a great way to keep in touch with people, and it's a great way to keep that conversation going when you're not conversing in other ways via webinars or group chats or whatever you do. So I recommend you look into it. And like I said, Facebook now has some cool new features. And if you'd like to learn more about this new stuff that Facebook is putting out there for groups, I will include a link to the original Facebook announcement. And that will be in the blog post for this episode at resonancecontent.com/podcast. Okay, Snapchat has made an announcement of its own. Snapchat announced that, and I'm quoting here, Snapchatters can now create filters right in the Snapchat app, customize them with many of the same creative tools available to decorate snaps. So previously, if you wanted to create a geo filter, and if you're not familiar with geo filters, it's when you go to create a snap and you pull up the filters. And if you are, say you're at Mardi Gras, you might find a filter that says, Mardi Gras New Orleans or whatever it is. Well, those are geo filters that people have created. And previously, if you wanted to create your own, you had to go online to snapchat.com/on-demand. But now you can create those filters within the mobile app. TechCrunch tells us that the new Mobile Creative Studio is available for iOS and Android, and it allows users to select a template and add filters, text, stickers, and Bitmojis. The new tool is currently available only in the United States, but it is expected to roll out to other regions soon. And yes, all geo filters are still subject to Snapchat approval, and they, of course, are subject to a fee. And that fee depends on how long you want the filter available and the area that you want it to cover. So if you are interested in that, check out, you can go online to snapchat.com/on-demand, or you can just check out the app within your Snapchat. Check out the feature within your Snapchat app. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post called Declare Independence from B2B Influencer Marketing Blunders, 5 Tips for Success. This is by Emily Hinderaker, Emily, I hope I'm saying your name right, on the Top Rank Marketing blog. We all know that social reach is declining, and it's getting tougher and tougher to get in front of people and to expand our brand awareness. And a lot of brands are discovering the benefits of a strong influencer marketing campaign. Now, traditionally, or it's more popular to hear about influencer marketing in the B2C world. People recommending, moms recommending toys or baby products on their blogs, things like that. And in fact, a recent survey revealed that only 15% of B2B brands are running ongoing influencer programs. So they might tap in influencers here and there, but only 15% have a formal program. So what Emily does here is she goes on to share 5 strategies for designing and implementing successful B2B influencer marketing campaigns. It is an excellent read, and I will, of course, share the link in the blog post for this episode at resonancecontent.com/podcast. That is it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please tweet it to me at @RachelParker so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, the State of Content Marketing, Top 5 Trends from the First Half of 2017. Here in the States, we get pretty excited about our 4th of July holiday. A lot of people do some traveling and have family over and have plans for big barbecues and attending fireworks displays. And then we come back from this holiday and we're like, oh crap, the year's halfway over. So that's where we are right now, folks. Believe it or not, half of 2017 is already behind us. Don't ask me where those 6 months went. I have no idea, but they're behind us, and that's what we have to deal with. So this is the time to pull out our strategies and look at what's going on, look at what our results are, and start planning on how we're going to approach the last 6 months of the year, because that strategy is now 6 months old, and there may have been changes. There may have been changes to your company. There may have been changes to your brand. There may have been changes to the products and services you offer. And there may have been changes in the environment that you're working in. So it's really worth our while to pull out those strategies here at the mid-year point and see what's going on, see what the results are, and then, of course, to look around and see what has been going on in our environment. So today I want to talk about top 5 trends from those first 6 months of 2017. They're going to shape what we do for the rest of the year and probably even beyond that. So the first item I want to tackle here is something that you've heard me talk about many times on this podcast, and that is the importance of quality. And you have heard me beat this drum many, many times before. Those days of being able to just crank out a 350-word post with some keywords in there with basic information and just splatting it up on your blog, that's not going to work anymore. The competition has increased, and Google. Let us not forget about Google. Google is First of all, Google is constantly updating. So we hear about Google updates. Those are the major ones. Those are big chunks of individual updates that change the game that we play each day as content marketers and as online brands. But actually, Google is constantly updating. And in March of 2017, we saw what we call the Fred update. Now, it's rare that Google makes a formal announcement saying, this is our update, this is what it entails, this is how it's going to be going forward. Usually, things start to leak out, and you start, if you follow sites like Search Engine Journal or Moz or those folks, maybe TechCrunch, you'll start to see rumors kind of trickling in, and then they'll try to get in touch with someone at Google. And so that's how the Fred update became known. And it was kind of funny where the name came from, because one of the online or SEO journalists contacted someone at Google and said, okay, what are we going to call this update? And the guy responded, said, I don't know, man. We're from now on, we're going to call them all Fred, just tossing out the name Fred. So the name Fred actually stuck. But this Fred update, and again, Google is not one to make proclamations about what these updates are doing. They're pretty close. They keep their cards close to their chest. But from what I understand, reading the journalistic articles out there, the Fred update is part of Google's ongoing effort to guarantee a quality experience to people who use Google. So when people go to Google to search for information, they want to make sure that what they are served up is quality information and not a piece of crap, not another sales page. So reading around about this Fred update, I found 4 characteristics. What Fred does is it appears to target content that, number 1, was clearly written for keyword targeting purposes, and it's if not keyword stuffing, it can tell by the way that keywords are used that that's really what is written for. Content that, number 2, has a high ratio of prominent ads and or affiliate links. And we've all seen these, right? You Google around, you find what looks like a great article, and you go to the page, you find it is so crammed with ads, and you find they're talking about this product. It turns out they're an affiliate, and it's just basically an ad or one big advertisement. Fred is targeting those as well. Number 3, it's targeting, this is something I found interesting. It primarily targets content that is all or mostly text-based. So pure article format, no visuals, no video, because good visuals and video take time and effort. And if you're not interested in serving your target audience, you're not going to bother with those multimedia options. And then number 4, it targets content that it appears geared towards selling instead of delivering value to the visitor. Now, of course, we're talking about, we're not talking about individual people reviewing content saying, oh, well, that's salesy or that's not. This is all algorithm based. So, but it's a pretty smart algorithm, and it's getting smarter every day in terms of filtering out that bad content and allowing in only good quality content that speaks to your audience, that it has authority, and that is going to serve the searcher on the other side of those search. So that is the first reason why we need to up our quality game. The second reason is something that I covered in last week's episode. When I hear from clients who want to up their game in blogging, inevitably, when I ask them why they want to do this, it's usually search-based. We want to increase our search traffic. We want to grow traffic to our site. We want people coming to our site. That's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. But the magic of content marketing appears when people come back to you over and over and over again. I think salespeople say it takes between 12 and 20 touch points before people will even engage in a sales conversation. We need to get those touch points in mind, and we need to look at our content and saying, okay, how does this make people want to engage with me over and over again? And people respond to quality. For example, I know that when I come across content from ProBlogger, I know it's going to be really good quality. I know it's not going to be the same top 10 tips that everyone else is publishing. And I know I'm going to get something out of it that serves me and serves the purpose of my going to this article and reading this content. So When people know they can rely on you for quality content, that speaks to their needs and that offers a positive experience. Quality is not just about the information we're sharing, folks. We need to incorporate the principles of good writing and good journalism and make the reading of that content or the engagement with that video, we need to make that a pleasant experience. We need to make that an experience that makes people want to come back to us. So for Google and also for people that we want to keep coming back, quality reigns supreme and the importance is only growing. So if you've been thinking about upping your game, maybe bringing in some professional writers, if you haven't done so already, this is the time to start thinking about that, because the competition's only going to get stiffer. Google is only going to get smarter in terms of filtering out that what it deems to be unworthy content, and people have a lot more choices. Who are they going to? Not only who are they going to engage with today, but who are they going to keep coming back to? You want to be that brand, because as you establish those touch points, that's going to make people much more likely to say, okay, as it turns out, we do have a need. Let's talk. And that's going to turn those audience members, those followers, into customers. So that is trend number one. Quality reigns supreme, and it's only getting more important. Number two, this is something I've talked about a couple of times recently. The demand for podcasts continues to rise, but brands are not responding. As we reported a few weeks ago in episode number 230, Edison Research released a new study on the public's appetite for podcasts. 40% of U.S. adults have listened to a podcast at some point, any point. 24% have listened in the past month, and 15% have listened in the past week. Now, those numbers are not insignificant, and all of them represent increases from 2016. This is part of an annual report that Edison Research does, and all those numbers were up from last year. So the public's appetite for podcasts is growing. What are brands doing about it? The answer is not much, believe it or not. According to Social Media Examiner's 2017 Social Media Marketing Industry Report, only 8% of brands use podcasting. Only 8%. And here's the kicker. Of those who do not use podcasting, 60% have no plans whatsoever to explore it. They say, nope, we're not interested. We're going to stick with what we're doing. No interest in podcast. Somebody else will have to do it. And call me crazy, but this is what we call in marketing a blue ocean phenomenon, where there are lots and lots of fish, but not so many sharks to compete with. So the demand is there, but the supply, brands are just not catching on. So if you have even thought about establishing a podcast for your brand, this is the time to do it, because those sharks aren't going to stay away for long. They're going to recognize the opportunities that are there. So if you want to be in on the ground floor, you may have thought that, oh, wow, social media, we got there too late, and then it was already so crowded. And, every place is a great place for marketing until all the marketers show up. Well, in podcasting, the marketers haven't shown up yet, or very few of them have. So if you have the slightest inkling of getting into podcasting for your brand, this is the time to jump on that opportunity. Trend number 3 from the first 6 months of 2017 is that email is still going strong, but it's changing. It's no secret that organic social reach continues to crater. If you've looked at the reach for your organic, non-promoted Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter posts, I mean, it's pretty pathetic. It's just such a crowded field, and that Facebook algorithm and the LinkedIn algorithm is trying to figure out how to give people a good balance, and there are only so many brands whose content they can cram into that news feed. Makes sense, but it's painful. So marketers are saying, okay, well, what can we do? How can we adjust to this new reality? And they are rediscovering the value in their email lists. Now, not to say I told you so, but whenever I deal with a new client, whenever we approach their strategy, I always tell them, your email list is absolute gold. Number one, it belongs to you. So Facebook can shut down your page, LinkedIn can shut down your page for no reason whatsoever, and it would be gone. Followers gone, posts gone, all that work just gone. But your list belongs to you, no matter which service you use for your email marketing. And then the second thing is, email is email is email. So on social, we're all at the mercy of Facebook's algorithm and LinkedIn's algorithm. YouTube's algorithm has come up under a lot of fire recently. In fact, a major YouTuber, PewDiePie, the guy from Sweden who does his video game commentaries, has threatened to shut down his channel. So as we're facing this new reality, dealing with these algorithms, people are recognizing, how's that for a verb, the magic of email and the promise of email. Now, that being said, this ain't your mama's email content. There are new ways of approaching email that are pretty exciting. The days of the old bloated e-newsletter with 800 words that just go on and on and on. It's basically a print newsletter crammed into an email. Those are gone. Those are dinosaurs. So what we need to do is figure out how people engage with email and then back our content into that. And there are certain technological advances that people are exploring. For example, we can now include, depending on your platform, interactive elements. So there are navigation elements that we can use in email. We can use carousels, image galleries, sliders. We can also use big data. Big data is a big buzzword, right? Well, we can use our data for more detailed personalization than we have in the past. Always stopping short of being creepy, of course, but we can personalize those emails even deeper. And then we can also make more sophisticated use of automated and trigger emails. So again, going back to data, we know what people are doing. We know what they're doing on our site. We know the resources that they download, and we can be more strategic about approaching those folks saying, hey, we noticed that you, a month ago you downloaded our white paper. We'd love to know what you think about it. Would you mind taking a survey? Or we thought you'd be interested in our latest blog post. Whatever it is, but there are new and interesting ways of approaching email that brands are exploring and that you may want to look into as well. Trend number 4, print is making a comeback. And I'm going to give all the credit to Joe Pulizzi because at the end of 2016, he laid out some predictions for 2017. And one of those is keep an eye on print. Print is coming back. And as we reported in episode 226 of this podcast, print media is indeed showing signs of making a comeback. And most of that is driven by millennials, believe it or not. A survey among U.S. adults aged 16 to 26 by TRU, which is a division of TNS Research Global, found a strong preference for print over electronic media in several categories. 78% said they preferred print over tablets for reading books. 71% said they preferred print for magazines, and 52% said they preferred print for newspapers. And on the brand scene, you may have seen recently that Airbnb recently partnered with Hearst to create a new print magazine called Airbnb Mag. Now that is going to be It's interesting how they're doing it. It's going to be partially online. Some of the content will be available online, but the main body of that content and the real gems that people want to read is going to be in the print version of this magazine. So let's talk about print for just a second. Yes, it is time intensive. It is labor intensive. It does cost money. Okay, you got to have a professional layout. You're going to need higher quality photography. You're going to need longer articles than you typically publish online. And then, of course, there's the cost of printing and mailing. But again, this is one of those blue-ish ocean areas where not a lot of brands are playing. So if you're looking for a differentiator, and of course, it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense for your company. It's got to make sense for your audience. And if you've thought about doing a print newsletter or a print magazine, at least explore it. If it makes sense for you, explore it. See what the cost would be. See what it would take to get all that content together for the photography, for the layout, for the printing, for the mailing. See how much it would be. And if, maybe you can't do it monthly. Maybe you could do it quarterly, or maybe you could do it, a little less frequently. But print is definitely making a comeback, and it's funny. I do a lot of networking here in Houston, and as such, I have met a lot of printers, and they're really, really excited. They're much happier than they were a few years ago because there are signs of print making a comeback. So that's something we should all be aware of as we move forward in 2017 and start getting ready for 2018. Trend number 5, stories are here to stay, and that is stories with a capital S. Now, lowercase s stories have been around forever and will be around forever. But I'm talking about stories in terms of Snapchat, Instagram stories, and now Facebook stories. And when I talk about stories with a capital S, what we mean is evanescent content, so this content that eventually disappears, in the form of images and micro videos. So these are the images we're finding on Snapchat and Instagram stories, and also those short, I think they're 10-second videos that people put up. And, we have been reporting on what seems to be a never-ending arms race between Snapchat and Instagram stories. But it really highlights how this is a trend that is not going away anytime soon. It's getting more use, and it's getting more eyeballs. In June 2017, Instagram stories hit 250 million daily users. And remember, this is a feature that just launched in August of last year. So, let's see, August 2. So about 10 months, it's gone up to 250 million daily users. And brands are finding really innovative ways to use these platforms. I remember when Snapchat first started gaining attention, people were like, why would I create content that disappears in 24 hours? What's the sense in that? And lo and behold, here we are. But brands are finding really innovative ways to use these platforms. For example, Cisco will allow takeovers of its Snapchat channel to give audiences an inside view of different areas of the company. Over on Instagram stories, GE, General Electric, uses the platform most recently to share photos of GE employees descending into a volcanic mountain to collect samples. And yes, that is correct. I don't know exactly what they were doing there, but that was shared on their Instagram stories. So look into it. If you've been resisting Snapchat, Instagram stories, saying, "Oh, that's for tweens and teenagers. That's not our scene," take a fresh look at it and look at your audience. And as always, if you don't know what your audience thinks about it, you can always ask them. But think about exploring stories, maybe. And you can always, when these trends come along that we're not quite sure about, you can always do a beta test. Do it for 6 months and then see what happens, or do it for 3 months and then see what happens. See what those results are. Now, it does take a while to ramp up, but give it a try. Get out there, start doing it on a daily basis or however often you want, and see what happens. And that's the case for all these trends that I've talked about, except for quality. Quality is just, it's not optional, folks. It's a must-have. But, like print and podcasting, see if they make sense for your organization and your audience, and then start exploring them. If it's not part of your 2017 strategy, maybe this is the time to start that beta test, or to start looking into it, or start seeing, okay, how much would it cost and how many hours would it take for us to try this? And just start exploring and seeing if it's something that you want to move forward with. So that is my list of the top 5 trends from the first half of 2017. And remember, now that we're halfway through the year, it is time to pull out those strategies for a review. And if none of these trends are representative, it might be time to think about making some tweaks. If you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, or if there's a trend you're seeing that did not make the list, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to tweet me anytime at Rach Parker. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. Yes, we are at mid-year 2017. Do you know where your content marketing strategy is? Is it maybe stuffed in a file cabinet, or maybe in that vertical file gathering dust on your desk, or maybe it's buried in a shared folder on your server? When's the last time you looked at it? And yeah, in a perfect world, we're reviewing our strategies on a monthly basis, but look, life gets busy, especially if you're working with a small marketing team. And I know most of you are barely keeping your head above water with, product releases and website redesigns. And I know it gets busy and we just don't have time to address that strategy. But that said, I encourage you to make some time this week to look at your strategy alongside your results from the first 6 months of the year and changes to your environment. Are there new competitors on the scene? Are there changes in your industry that you need to incorporate? Are there internal changes? Do you have a new CEO? Do you have a new brand direction? Do you have a new location? Have you gone global? Are there changes internally that are going to affect that strategy? So look at your strategy, then gather your team. Talk about what's working well, what has changed, what needs tweaking, and what major changes you might want to look at making as we head into the second half of the year. Remember, we still have 6 months to achieve those goals we set out for ourselves in January, so let's make the most of them. Okay, campers, that's it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. Also, if you want to learn more about content marketing, you will definitely want to grab a copy of my book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win. To learn more about the book and to download a free chapter, visit contentmarketingcoachbook.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Socrates, or Socrates, if you happen to be a Bill and Ted fan. Socrates once said, "Be excellent to each other." No, kidding. Socrates once said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." Unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.